The cage stood tall in the center of the city. It was made of thick glass and metal bars, surrounded by a glowing blue shield. People walked past it every day. They looked up, whispered, and some even laughed. Inside the cage sat an alien, thin, silent, with smooth silver skin and calm purple eyes. She never shouted or cried. She just sat there and looked at the sky. The sign below the cage read, "Enemy of Earth, a warning to all outsiders." No one really questioned it. The council said she was dangerous, a spy from another world. They said her kind tried to destroy a human ship. They said Earth was strong now and would never bow again. Nolan worked as a technician in the city. He was young, quiet, and curious. His job was simple: check the energy fields, update the shield codes, and report any damage. Every week, he climbed the platform and made sure the cage was secure. At first, he didn't think much about the alien. He treated it like part of his job, like checking a power line or fixing a broken light. But one day, something changed. He arrived early in the morning. Fog still covered the streets, and only a few people were out. As he walked up to the pedestal, he noticed the alien was awake, sitting still as always. But when she saw him, she tilted her head slightly. Eyes met his, not with anger or fear, but with something else. Something calm. Something sad. He paused for a second. She didn't look like a monster. She looked tired. "You okay in there?" he asked softly, not expecting a reply. To his surprise, she blinked slowly and nodded once. He stared at her. He had never seen her move like that before. After checking the shield readings, he sat down for a moment near the control panel. He looked up at her again. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she wasn't allowed. "They say you're dangerous," he said. "But you don't seem like it." She kept watching him. The next day he came back again, even though it wasn't his shift. He stood there, just watching her. People passed by. Some gave him strange looks. One man even joked, "You making friends with that freak?" Nolan didn't reply. The week after, when it was his turn to check the system again, he brought an apple from his lunch. He held it up to the cage, unsure if she would even care. She leaned forward a little and placed her hand gently on the glass. He left the apple on the panel. He knew she couldn't reach it, but it felt like the right thing to do. He started to feel something strange, like this wasn't just an alien in a cage. This was a person, someone who had thoughts, feelings, maybe even a story that no one cared to ask. Days turned into weeks. Every time he checked the system, he talked to her. Short words, soft questions. Sometimes she nodded, sometimes she blinked. And sometimes she just looked at him with quiet eyes. He began to wonder what really happened. Was she truly a threat? One night, he had trouble sleeping. His thoughts kept returning to her. He got out of bed and turned on his tablet. He opened the public council records. Most of them were locked, but there were some basic reports. It said she was captured during a skirmish near Mars. She was found unarmed. Her ship disabled. She didn't resist. She never fought back. He frowned. "That doesn't sound like a spy," he whispered. He tried searching her species. They were called Ashelin, a small, peaceful race from a moon outside the main galactic path. Known for healing arts, not war. The more he read, the more confused he became. The next day he looked into her eyes and whispered, "Did you hurt anyone?" After a long pause, she shook her head. He felt something tighten in his chest. A group of teenagers came by later. They shouted at the cage, threw small stones. The shield stopped them, but they laughed anyway. She didn't move. She just stared at the ground. Nolan stood up and yelled at them, "Get lost!" They ran off, cursing under their breath. He turned back to the cage. She was watching him again. That night, he went home and said nothing to anyone. Just sat by the window looking at the stars. He felt something growing inside him. Guilt, anger, confusion. Was the cage really a warning? Or was it hiding a lie? He didn't have answers yet. But deep down, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't ignore her anymore. Nolan couldn't stop thinking about her. Even during work, his mind drifted back to the cage and those quiet purple eyes. He had never seen a creature more peaceful, more broken. He felt like something was wrong with the story people had been told. He started asking quiet questions. First, he went to the archives building. It was large and full of dust. Most people never visited. He used his technician access to look through old files. The public report said the alien called Isari had been captured after an attack on a human scout ship. The ship had been destroyed. She was blamed for it. But something didn't feel right. Nolan opened the black box recording of the destroyed ship. It was a short file. Static. Panic. A warning signal. Then silence. The warning signal was strange. It wasn't a human language. It was something soft, slow, almost like a plea. He copied it onto his tablet and ran it through the translator. It wasn't a battle command. It was a warning message. Leave this area. There is danger. We are not your enemies. Nolan sat back in his chair. His hands felt cold, she had warned. Then he looked deeper into her species. The Ashland were known across a few small colonies. They didn't fight. They didn't have large fleets. Their ships didn't even have weapons. They helped heal injured travelers. They stayed far from war zones. So why was one of them in a cage? He didn't want to believe the council could lie. But now he wasn't sure. The pieces didn't fit. He returned to the Pedestal that evening. The crowd was smaller at that hour. He stood near the control panel, pretending to run a scan. He looked at her. Your name? Is it Isari? He whispered. Her eyes widened just a little. She gave a slow nod. You tried to warn them, he said. You didn't attack. She looked down and placed her hand against the glass. Nolan stepped closer. I saw the recording. I heard your message. Why would they lie? Her voice was soft, almost too quiet to hear. They needed someone to blame. His heart sank. So they put you here. As a warning, as a trophy, she said. He had no words. He just stood there, staring at her, feeling the weight of something bigger than he'd ever known. That night he visited his sister Claire. She worked in communications security. She was smart and trusted him. Even when he acted strange, he showed her the recording. She listened in silence. This was never an attack. She said after a moment, I know, he replied. But if the council lied, what else are they hiding? Claire hesitated. I have clearance to the sealed records. But if I access them, they'll know. Can you do it just once? Just find out what really happened? She stared at him. Are you sure? I have to know. The next day, she sent him a private file. It was short and marked classified, level 7. He opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a report from a captain named Drell. It was dated to days before Isari was put in the cage. The report said she had been found inside a damaged shuttle, trying to reach both human and alien fleets with peace signals. She had carried injured passengers, 2 humans, and 1 alien, both saved from a destroyed zone. She had risked her life to bring them to safety. But the council had another plan. The report ended with the words, she is a symbol, use her. The people need to see strength. Nolan closed the file. It wasn't just a light was betrayal. He returned to the cage with a heavy heart. Isari was sitting the same way, still and quiet. I saw the truth, he told her. She looked at him gently. Then you know why they won't let me go? I want to help you, he said. I just don't know how yet. She didn't speak. She just watched him, as if she knew something he didn't. Over the next few days, Nolan's thoughts changed. He no longer saw the cage as a job. It was now a wound. And he felt responsible even if he hadn't built it. He brought her real food. When he could, small fruit pieces hidden in toolboxes. He brought her music, tiny earpieces playing soft sounds from Earth. She didn't say much, but he saw the way her shoulders relaxed. The way she smiled just barely when a bird flew close to the cage. They never had full conversations. It's just small words, soft looks, quiet moments, but it was enough each time. He left. He felt heavier. Each time he came back, he felt stronger. Nolan had never been a hero. He was just a technician. But something deep inside him had changed. He was now someone who knew the truth, and people who know the truth must choose. Look away or do something. Nolan started changing his routine. Instead of rushing his work, he took more time near the cage. He cleaned around it even when it wasn't needed. He stayed longer than required. People noticed, but no one said anything. To most, the cage was just a showpiece, an old message carved into steel and glass. But to Nolan, it had become something personal. A place where truth sat quietly, trapped behind lies. Izari began responding more. When he greeted her, she nodded. When he asked if she slept well, she softly said, "A little." They weren't full conversations, but to Nolan, every word mattered. One day he brought a small hologram cube. It showed images of forests, oceans, birds, and sky. He set it near the edge of the panel outside the cage. Izari stepped closer, her eyes wide. Soft green trees flickered in the air, waves crashed gently, and the calls of wild birds filled the space between them. "Is that real?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "From Earth the North." "I would like to see that one." Nolan lowered his eyes. "You should have seen it already." The wind blew across the plaza. Crowds moved in waves, paying no attention to the quiet exchange. As days passed, Nolan's bond with Izari deepened. It wasn't loud or full of words. It was quiet, respectful. Two souls who saw something broken and chose not to look away. One evening, a boy no older than 10 came to the pedestal with his mother. The boy stared at the cage. "What is that, Mommy?" "What?" "That's an alien," she said. "It's locked up so others don't mess with Earth." The boy tilted his head. "She looks sad, because she's dangerous." Nolan watched as the boy walked closer to the glass and waved. Izari blinked and gave a tiny wave back. The mother pulled the boy away quickly. Nolan sighed. Even the children could feel it, something didn't add up. That night, Nolan visited Claire again. "I want to help her escape," he said. Claire's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Yes. I've seen enough. They lied. She doesn't belong in there. You'll be hunted, then let them hunt me." She sat back. "Do you have a plan?" "Not yet, but I'll make one." Claire stayed quiet. She knew her brother wasn't foolish. He was calm, careful. If he said he was serious, he meant it. "I'll help you," she said. "But we'll need to be careful." The next day, Nolan looked at the cage differently. Now, it wasn't just a wound, it was a puzzle. Every bolt, every shield line, every code mattered. He studied the power patterns. He checked the guard rotations. He learned how long each scan lasted and how many seconds passed between alerts. He even noticed a weakness during shield maintenance. The energy field dropped for exactly 10 seconds. It happened once every 5 days. He made a note. He began testing harmless changes, slowing shield restarts by 1 second, hiding power flickers within system resets. No one noticed. He trusted the system. Nolan began preparing supplies, small food packs, water capsules, and a thermal cloak. He hid them under a loose stone behind the pedestal. Each time he added something, his heart beat faster. Meanwhile, he and SR kept talking. She spoke more now, slowly. "Do your people always lock up peace?" "No," he said. "Not always. Just when they're afraid." "Then they must be afraid of the wrong things." He nodded. One night it rained hard. The plaza emptied early. Nolan stayed behind with a repair excuse. The guards stayed in the control room. The shield shimmered as raindrops hit it. Nolan stepped close and whispered, "I'm going to get you out." Izari looked at him, surprised. "Why?" "You're because someone should have helped you from the start. You may be punished." "Maybe. But I'd rather be punished for doing the right thing." She didn't speak. She placed her hand on the glass. He pressed his hand against hers. No words passed. But something strong was shared in that silence. As the rain poured harder, Nolan walked away with his coat soaked and his heart burning with purpose. For the first time, the pedestal didn't look so strong anymore. Nolan's mind raced with new information. He and Claire had spent days digging through hidden files and old communications. What they found shocked them both, and the council had covered up much more than just Asori's true story. There were reports about secret battles, silent wars, K, and broken promises, things the public was never meant to see. Claire warned him. If the council finds out we're looking into this, they'll come after us. Nolan nodded but didn't stop. He had already made his choice. One evening, Claire gave him a small data chip. This contains a map of the city's security system. Shows camera locations, guard shifts, and emergency exits near the pedestal. This will help me get Asari out, Nolan said, gripping the chip tightly. He returned to the cage late at night when the city was quiet. Asari was waiting, her eyes glowing softly under the moonlight. I heard the council talk, she said. Quietly. They fear me. They fear the truth, Nolan replied. But they can't keep you locked forever. Asari looked hopeful for the first time in weeks. Why do you risk so much? It's because it's wrong to punish peace, Nolan said, and because no one else will help. They made a plan. Nolan would disable the shield during the maintenance window, which lasted only 10 seconds every 5 days. It was a small chance, but the only one they had. Nolan trained himself to work fast. He memorized the sequence to shut down the energy field, unlock the cage, and hide the evidence before guards could respond. On the 5th day, the moment arrived. Nolan climbed the pedestal with his heart pounding. The air was cold, and the city lights flickered in the distance. He reached the control panel and began the shutdown sequence. The blue shield started to dim. Asari stood ready. Suddenly, alarms blared. Someone had detected the glitch. Early guards rushed toward the pedestal. Nolan didn't have time to finish. He shouted, "Run, Asari, go." Asari hesitated for a moment, her eyes meeting his. Then she sprinted toward the dark alley beside the plaza. Nolan grabbed a nearby metal rod and stood his ground as the guards arrived. He fought with everything he had, buying time for Asari's escape. The guards overwhelmed him quickly. He was arrested and taken away. But he didn't regret a thing. From his cell, Nolan thought about Asari's soft eyes and quiet strength. He hoped she was safe. Outside, Asari disappeared into the city's shadows, free but hunted. She was determined to send her message of peace to the stars, no matter the cost. The city buzzed with rumors. The cage was empty, but no one knew where Asari had gone. The council blamed a technical failure and promised a full investigation. They called Nolan a traitor and warned the public to stay calm, but not everyone believed the council's words. In a quiet room, Nolan sat under watch. His hands were bruised, but his spirit was strong. He thought about Asari's soft eyes, how calm she had been even in the cage. He believed in her, even when the world called her a monster. Claire visited him when she could, bringing news from outside. She told him that some people were starting to ask questions, to doubt the council's story. Secret messages were being passed between citizens who wanted to know the truth. Nolan smiled weakly. He had started something bigger than himself. Far from the city, Asari moved carefully through forests and hills. She avoided cameras and patrols. She was not a prisoner anymore, but she was not safe either. Her goal was clear. She needed to send a peaceful signal to her people and to other alien worlds. She hoped someone would hear and understand that Earth was not the enemy. Asari found an old communication station hidden in the mountains. It was damaged but still working. She used her knowledge to repair the signal transmitter. Then she sent a message in her native language mixed with human codes. Asking for peace and friendship, she waited, watching the stars. Back in the city, the council grew worried. More people were speaking out. Some hackers tried to reveal the truth about Asari and the council's lies. The council sent more guards and tightened control. Nolan knew his time was short. He asked Claire to prepare for his trial, but he was not afraid. He had done what he believed was right. One night, while Nolan rested in his cell, a guard brought him a small package. Inside was a note and a tiny crystal. The note said, "We see you. You are not alone." Nolan held the crystal close. Hope grew inside him. The future was uncertain. Asari was free, but hunted. Nolan was captive, but his fight was far from over. Somewhere in the stars, messages of peace were traveling, just waiting for the right ears. and the human who looked beyond the cage had started a change that no one could stop. The days passed slowly for Nolan. He stayed in the cell, waiting for the trial that would decide his fate. He knew the council would try to make an example of him, to scare others who might question their power. But his thoughts were far away. With Azari free somewhere in the wide world beyond the city, one morning the cell door opened suddenly. 2 guards stood there, but they did not bring him to the courtroom. Instead, a woman stepped forward. She wore a simple uniform, but there was power in her eyes. "Nolan," she said calmly, "you've caused a lot of trouble. But maybe you have something the council needs." Nolan looked at her, confused. "Come with us," she said. "There is a chance to make things right." He followed them quietly, not sure what to expect. Outside, the city was alive with noise and light. But inside a secret chamber deep beneath the council building, he met the leaders of a small group who believed in truth and peace. They told him the council was divided. Some wanted war, some wanted control, but others wanted to find a new way. "Isari's message has reached others," one leader said. "The galaxy is listening." They showed him a map of signals from distant stars, answers to Isari's call. Some were cautious, some curious, but all awaited proof that Earth could be trusted. Nolan was given a choice to help lead a mission to contact these worlds and build peace. It was dangerous. It might fail. But it was the future. He agreed. Meanwhile, Isari continued her journey. She found shelter with a small group of humans living outside the city. They welcomed her with open hearts, curious about the alien who had been locked away. She shared stories of her people, their love for healing, their pain at war. The humans listened, learning that peace was possible between very different beings. Together, they worked to repair the communication station and build stronger signals. The message of hope grew louder each day. When Nolan and the new peace team left the city, they carried with them the courage of those who dared to see the truth. Isari joined them soon after, her cage left behind, her spirit free. Their journey was only beginning. The cage on the pedestal remained empty, a silent reminder that fear can imprison, but hope can set free, and the human who saw beyond the glass had changed the galaxy forever.